Your first alert to plan your day and stay safe. From KCRG TV 9, this is First Alert Weather Now.
Good evening and welcome to the Friday night edition of First Alert Weather Now. I'm meteorologist Corey Thompson, and we are starting to feel the change that came with a cold front that has moved through the area. A little secondary push of even colder air is on the way with some stronger wind gusts, and we'll talk about how much that change means in your weekend in a little bit. We also have your weekend edition of the forecast for fun and a look at what things that we can see in the sky beyond the weather in the coming weeks. But first, what you need to know as you step outside tonight, it's the cold temperatures. There's no way around that. We are expecting, after this one day that we saw today that was warm, that cold front is bringing in those colder temperatures, and that is going to send those temperatures downward as we head into the weekend. In fact, the National Weather Service has issued a cold weather advisory. This is the first time that we've had one of these in effect here in eastern Iowa. It replaces the wind chill advisory, which we'll get into a little more detail about that in a little bit too. But just the bottom line, those wind chills get on the edge of the dangerously cold range as we get toward Saturday night, and likely repeating again Sunday night and Monday night. Temperatures right now have fallen into the upper 30s to low 40s. That's after a day that was rather warm indeed. Those winds out of the west and northwest, but still at a modest speed. But over the next several hours, we are expecting those to pick up. We got into the 50s in many areas today, but now down into the 30s, and that slide will continue. In fact, by the time you wake up on Saturday, wind chills feeling below zero and only in the single digits above zero during the day, likely slipping below zero again tomorrow evening. Your planner for this evening does involve windier conditions as we head later into it. Temperatures will eventually reach the low to mid-teens by later tonight with those blustery, gusty winds. Now, there are plenty of events going on around eastern Iowa this weekend, and they are, well, generally indoors, which is good for this time of year. First Alert Chief Meteorologist Joe Winters has tonight's forecast for fun.
As we move through the next couple of weeks, there's going to be some cold, certainly, hopefully some snow at times. Overall, though, lots of activities have moved indoors. This weekend, if you have some outdoor activities planned, dress appropriately. We're going to see some bitterly cold air, some of the coldest we've seen thus far this season. That begins your forecast for fun. And to do that, let's look at some warmer weather days ahead. Valentine's Day, now just 28 days away. St. Patrick's Day, of course, mid part of March, big parade in downtown Cedar Rapids, 59 days away. Easter happens in April this year. It's a bit later than last year at 93. And of course, Mother's Day as we approach mid-May, definitely warmer than this weekend, 114 days away. If you're walking this weekend, as we said, dress appropriately. That 18-degree high on Saturday, tempered by strong winds, also falling temperatures through the afternoon, single-digit highs and wind chills later Saturday all the way through Tuesday morning will be below zero. At times this weekend, we could be seeing wind chills between 15 and 25 below. That also is for you going out skiing. There's plenty of runs open. The snow certainly can stick around. Chestnut Mountain, a 32-inch base with 18 runs open. Sundown Mountain, 15-inch base with 21 runs open. Cascade Mountain in Wisconsin, 47 runs open, 36-inch base. No new snow in the area, but the cold air certainly allows them to make snow and keep snow on the hill for you. That's a complete look at our forecast for fun.
As has been the lead weather story for most of the week, after that warmth today, colder air is moving in. All these advisories and warnings are in effect for a good portion of the upper Midwest, including most of Iowa. But some of these names have changed, at least new this winter, around this portion of the country. First Alert meteorologist Hannah Messier has a look at what has changed and why.
This year, alerts about unsafe temperatures and wind chills will look a little different.
We are switching the terminology from wind chill warning to extreme cold warning. And likewise, a wind chill advisory is now a cold weather advisory.
The change from wind chill alerts to cold weather alerts is to decrease the emphasis on wind chills. Now we're going to talk more in depth about these new alerts from the National Weather Service. So an extreme cold watch, those are issued when extreme cold conditions are expected within the next 24 to 48 hours. That means you need to prepare for the cold temperatures that are in the forecast. A cold weather advisory will be issued by the National Weather Service when cold temperatures are expected within the next 24 hours. You want to limit time outdoors when cold weather advisories are issued. And next we have the extreme cold warning. Now, extreme cold warnings are issued when extreme cold conditions are expected within the next day. And these are going to be those really cold temperatures that are out there with extreme cold warnings. So that's when you really want to limit your time outside and make sure you wear several layers of clothing. Now, this is the criteria for the National Weather Service to issue a cold weather advisory. Now, if you are along and north of Highway 20, that's when you're going to need temperatures between minus 25 to minus 34 degrees. Again, that's north of Highway 20. Farther south of Highway 20, an advisory will be issued for temperatures and wind chills between minus 20 and minus 29. Now, with the extreme cold warning, in order for this to be issued, you need temperatures or wind chills in minus 35 or colder along and north of Highway 20. South of Highway 20, you're going to need temperatures or wind chills 30 degrees or colder for that extreme cold warning to be issued.
The basic reason is we're trying to get across to the public the important message that cold is cold, regardless of whether or not there is strong wind involved.
In Cedar Rapids, meteorologist Hannah Messier, KCRG TV9 News.
Now, your first alert forecast with meteorologist Corey Thompson.
The cold will feel pretty cold as we go into the weekend. That cold weather advisory in effect for pretty much everyone along and north of Interstate 80. Wind chills of 15 to 30 below are possible as we head into those nighttime hours, especially Saturday night and beyond. And frostbite becomes possible in a matter of minutes when that occurs. So you do want to, as Hannah said, avoid being outdoors during those times or certainly cover up that exposed skin. That's highlighted here on your first alert. Winds have started to pick up this evening. We'll continue to see those gusts get above 20 miles per hour, probably a little bit higher as we head into the evening hours too. Cold temperatures also a highlight here, and those wind chills below zero during the morning tomorrow, then likely repeating that again as we go further in time here. Now, by later tonight, wind chills in the single digits to teens and then falling negative during the morning hours. But then we'll see those tend to turn a little bit warmer by tomorrow in the early afternoon, maybe some single digits above zero, but then they really do start to fall off tomorrow night. Well below zero expected then, and the next several mornings to follow will be some of the coldest air we've seen so far this season. 20 below possible on Sunday, another 10 to 20 below on Monday, again getting cold Tuesday morning as air temperatures that morning will likely be at their lowest during this cold outbreak. Now, a view from our Sultan City Cam shows that the flag is, yes, blowing in the breeze that we have right now from the northwesterly direction, but it's not too intense yet. So far, our winds have been relatively modest in the 5 to 15 mile per hour range. That's why temperatures have fallen, but not significantly so quite yet. We're still 43 in Seoul and 39 in Dubuque. Colder than this afternoon for sure, but we are headed toward those much chillier temperatures. Single digits in our northwest zone possible overnight, upper teens in the far south, so it's going to be a bit of a difference here where, depending exactly on where you're at. And that's going to continue as we head into the weekend as well. We'll call it mostly cloudy overnight, although there will be some clearer times too. It's with a bank of clouds that's moving in. The edge of those clouds is on the leading edge of some stronger wind gusts, as well as that somewhat more substantial push of colder air that we're expecting overnight. Now, no precipitation expected with this as it moves in. We're just seeing those northerly winds stick with us during the day tomorrow. Sunshine will likely be there tomorrow too. So we will see some of that to offset some of those northwesterly winds, but it's not going to be enough to win. We're going to see those cold temperatures win out, and by tomorrow night, more clouds, at least at times, but more very, very chilly conditions. Your first alert forecast for your Saturday involves temperatures in the teens for the most part. 16 in Charles City, 15 in Prairie du Chien, close to 20 in our southern zone, although certainly on the colder side. And that cold air only serves to get even more intense as we head through the weekend. Sunday, a little batch of colder air aloft, and then Sunday night into Monday especially is when the coldest of this air mass will be arriving in the upper Midwest, but it swings through the area and moves on. So by Wednesday, we'll already start to see those improvements across the area, and that change in temperature will be going from significantly below normal to at least a few degrees above. That is some change that we can hang our hat on, especially when we're looking at temperatures that generally trending cold again after that. January 24th through the 30th, the Climate Prediction Center outlook does call for those below normal temperatures. Now, in and among over the next few days, we do have a decent amount of clear skies, especially at night, and that could allow you, despite the temperatures, if you bundle up properly, to get out and look at some of the things going on beyond our atmosphere. Meteorologist Joe Winters is back with your look beyond the weather.
Once again, we are joined by Chris Cardos, a member of the Cedar Amateur Astronomers, for our look beyond the weather. Now that we headed through the mid part of January, we can see lots of great things in the sky. Some of the clearest skies this time of the year, Chris.
Yes, they are. Can be very cold some of those nights, but generally very clear. Not too much humidity in the air.
So what are we looking forward to? And we did see one big event already earlier this week.
The occultation of Mars by the full moon. It's the January 13th, so by the time this airs, that will be in the past. But if you saw that, that's a pretty special thing.
What is an occultation?
An occultation is where, in this case, where the moon slides in front of Mars. It's a great time to view the parade of planets. You'll be able to see, with the naked eye, you'll be able to see Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Venus all at the same time in the early evening sky, kind of going from the east towards the west. Uranus and Neptune are also in that parade of planets, but you would need a small telescope to see those. Also, some other things this month. The clear skies make it nice to view Andromeda, which you can see with the naked eye, but also you can see it better with binoculars or a small telescope. We have a new moon on the 29th. New moons are great because that's when the sky is the darkest and you have the least amount of light pollution. So all the stars and other objects in the sky will appear brighter at that time.
You've given us a lot of things that we can see now in our night sky during the month of January. Anything going on for the Cedar Amateur Astronomers this time of the year?
On the night of January 18th at 7:30, that'd be a Saturday night, we have Dr. Joseph Lazio from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Will be talking, his talk is called Science Across the Solar System and Beyond. And he'll be talking about the Deep Space Network and some of the science results obtained from it. The Deep Space Network is vital to bringing information back from all of the probes and telescopes and that sort of thing that we have out.
That sounds excellent. So hopefully some folks can join that. And of course, more public events coming as the weather gets better. Chris Cardos with the Cedar Amateur Astronomers, thank you so much for joining us once again. We'll take another look beyond the weather with you for February coming up in a couple of weeks.
Over the course of the next few days, we do have some of those clear skies around. It will come, though, with the expense of some of those winds. We will see this stay blustery tomorrow, Sunday, and even into Monday. No big relief there over the next several days, though they do turn a little bit lighter by Tuesday and Wednesday, but not significantly so. We're definitely entering the windiest part of the calendar here as we go over the next few months. Late winter into spring is when we see our winds generally stay at their strongest. So we do have very quiet weather otherwise expected during the same amount of time, and that hasn't changed. We showed you this last night and there was no precipitation to be found here across the Midwest. And that same story is expected as we go over the next several days. No new precipitation of substance. We can't fully rule out a flurry or two with some of these additional pushes of cold air over the next couple of days, but they're going to be so limited if they take place. And there's just not enough moisture in the air when the air gets this cold to produce much of substance. Now, next week, we will start to warm up again. We'll be back into the upper 20s to mid 30s. That isn't anything as excessive or as pleasant as what we saw today, but it is a bit of a shift. And there is some sign that just beyond the 9-day forecast, we could be headed toward a somewhat more active weather pattern, but that is, of course, still so far away that I wouldn't hang your hat on it just yet. We'll be watching and crunching the numbers as we always do. Thanks for joining us this week on First Alert Weather Now. I hope you have a great weekend. See you back here on Monday.